Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Huffer and Friends, a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. The people who've helped me flourish in those areas are my friends. And so because of that, each week on this podcast, I, the host, Huffer, will invite one of my friends to come on to this podcast to share from their heart and their experience and their wisdom on a relevant topic that has to do with you flourishing in those two areas, life and relationships. I believe I have the best friends in the world. And so you hearing from them, I believe will help you the way it has helped me. So if you like what happens, you can on here, you can like, you can comment, you subscribe to Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. We have an episode that drops every Thursday. Today, I'm really, really excited because I get to introduce you to my wife and friend, Monica Huffer. Hey, Monica, welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Great having you here. We are talking this month about sharing your faith, about loving people who don't share your same faith. And how do you love them? How do you share something that's really important to you? And how do you do it in a natural way that's not awkward or weird or forceful or salesman-y? And there's not one person I think I know in the world who does that better than my wife, Monica Huffer. And so before we get into all of that, Monica, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you ended up married to me in Naples, Florida.
Okay, before we start anything, I'm not a podcast person, and so when people always say like and subscribe and comment, what are they commenting to and who is responding to them?
they comment about the video.
Like on YouTube?
On YouTube, yep. We have a comment section on YouTube they can comment on. They say, hey, I like this. Hey, and if you want to hear us talk about a different topic that we haven't talked about yet, like I'd love to hear you guys do a month on this. That's a great place to do it. You can also like us on Instagram or Facebook.
Them?
If they comment on YouTube, yes.
I should have asked my children before doing this. They would have told me how this
They
worked.
would have known. Yeah, that's how it works.
This is like AIM.
Yeah. It's like instant messaging. It's just that it's a longer format. Listen to this 30, 45-minute exchange and then make a comment, and maybe someone will comment back.
Now that I know who's commenting and on what and in what form, I can adequately be interviewed.
You can do it. Good.
Okay, well, if that explains a little. So, yeah, I'm Monica. I am Sai's wife. I grew up in St. Louis, so I'm a huge Cardinals fan. Even though they're kind of sucky right now, but it's just in my blood. I just love doing anything that's outdoors. So living in Florida is perfect for me because it checks every box of just clearly I'm sitting outside and Sai's sitting in a closet. I need outside at all times. But yeah, I ended up feeling called to ministry when I was in high school. My youth pastor just really challenged me. I was considering going to school for like graphic design or interior design. And he was like, that's all fine if you go that route, but I really want to challenge you to go into ministry. I think you love people really well, and I think that God has big plans for you in that way. And I was like, okay. Didn't know where to go with that. My parents were encouraging, but we didn't grow up in a family of pastors or church people. My family was newer to faith. And so we didn't really have like a lineage to go back on and like even know what schools to look at. Like, are these even real life schools,
And I like, just so everyone can know, like what was your family heritage? Your faith family heritage?
Yeah, my parents were high school sweethearts. They both grew up in homes that weren't followers of the Lord. My dad was like the youngest of 9, Italian Catholic. And so they went, on Christmas and Easter, or just like kind of part of cultural stuff. My mom came from a really broken home and they did not go to church at all. And so my parents later in life found the Lord because my brother was hospitalized. And so it was just kind of like this scary moment. And they didn't really know where to turn. And so actually one of my dad's siblings talked to them about giving all like their worries to Jesus and how it's something different. And so beautiful story. I mean, just over time, we had a neighbor really invest in my family, invited us to church, and it took time for my parents to figure out what this looks like, is finding Jesus in their mid to late 30s and having children, knowing they wanted something different for their life, but they didn't know what that framework looked like. And so it's just really cool. They ended up becoming followers of Christ. Both my brother and I went into ministry. My parents served in our youth group. They jumped in ways that they probably never would have imagined in their life. And then when we moved here to Naples, my parents left St. Louis and came here and have helped us with the church plant. And they are
Yeah.
probably still blown away by the way that God is using them in their 60s. So,
I
yeah.
love that. And I wanted you to dig into that a little bit more because, like, I think there is an aspect of your story, your family's faith story, is being adults and someone getting brave enough to share their faith with John and Julie Lanzo.
Yeah.
Like that is part of your faith heritage, is literally someone else who is doing what you do really well. They did that with your parents, and that's now affected generations because of that couple, that neighbor, that sibling, and that's the impact that you can have. And I just want people to hear that. That's so cool. Go ahead. So you grew up, parents came to faith, you had a youth pastor invested in you, and you went to Bible college.
Yeah. And so he challenged me to go to Bible college. And if you know me, I love a challenge. And so when he's like, I think you'd be really good at this, my best friend at the time, she kind of was like, ha. And I was like, okay, why do you think I can't do this? So there was a challenge. And I started praying about it. And God just kind of put on my heart like this discontentment as I was thinking through anything else that I wanted to do with my life. And so, yeah, ended up going to Ozark Christian College. Never heard of it before. Heard about it, ended up through a friend. I went and visited it with my mom. Hated it when I went there. It was this small little college. I was used to St. Louis, having everything around. The college was smaller than my graduating high school class. It was rainy and cold. I had a sinus infection. So like everything was like going against it. But as senior year was approaching and I was starting to nail down where I wanted to go, God just kept answering in multiple ways that was the school that I needed to go to. Having gone there, I think that's the best decision I've ever made. I love everything about that school. I'm all for the mission of it, the way that they train up their leaders, the community, the bonds, the friendships that are formed. So I meet Cy, I don't know, probably day one or two.
Yeah, I think so.
Very early on, it's a small Bible college. And so freshmen, when they enter, they come before everybody else for a few days and they have orientation and they get to learn where everything is on campus. And so I met him early. We played ping pong, I think, in the student center. We probably were in some group.
Who won? That's right.
The cool one.
The cool one.
Cool Huffer. Yeah.
When you beat me at that, I was like, I can't be around a girl that beats me at everything. Let's go play tennis. Well, you're a varsity tennis player and smoke me at that. And I was like, I can't do this. So anyway, we were friends for a couple years.
Still crushing you at everything.
Still crushing me at every game. I know.
No, I don't even know what YouTube and comments are. So I think I peaked. I've just gone down from then. So, but yeah. So then we started dating the end of our sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
I dated other people, so I was very much friend zoned.
Yeah.
He was not on a prospect of dating at all. He was a great guy, loved him, had classes with him, saw the way he loved people, but he asked me out on a date, and I was like, no, thanks. And I went back to my room, and my roommate and I were talking, and I was like, you will never guess who just asked me out on a date. She was like, who? And I was like, Cy Huffer. And she was like, that's so gross. I was like, I know. So we just like laughed and laughed and laughed because he was so boxed as a friend. Like the thought of a romantic interest was just unheard of.
Not there.
True 19-year-old girls giggling in our dorm room over a nice guy trying to ask me out on a date, if that shows you the wisdom of a 19-year-old. So some time had passed and I had told my mom had met Cy a few times just from visiting. And again, he was my friend. We were friendly, cordial, small school. And so she was like, Monica, you can go on a date with Cy. Like, It's not a big deal. Like, that's how you kind of find out if you like someone. Like, you've always said you respect him, you like his character, you know how he loves people, he's been sweet to you. Like, it's not saying you have to get married. Like, you can go on a date. So I was like, fine. So I started like thinking about it and praying about it. And so, long story short, went back to him and was like, okay, if you don't hate me and think I'm wishy washy, I would still like to go on a date. So we went on a date, and we knew pretty quickly that it was something different. So,
Yeah. It
and then we
happened
got
pretty
married the end of
fast.
our junior year, and here we are.
It's been
15
15
years later.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a funny? I mean, that was some funny stories, but what's a funny story you can
Oh,
think
it's not
of?
funny enough. Okay.
It's yeah. Is
They're
that the
not my
one you're?
funny.
That was yeah. Is there another one or anything about dating or friendship or us that we can remember?
Oh, I know early on. So we were getting ready to be apart for the summer. So we started dating in like April, and we
Yeah.
left in May to go do internships. I was doing a youth ministry internship. You were going to go do a youth ministry internship. So I really don't like clingy people. And so I
Hmm.
was like, well, the summer is going to say a lot. Like, if this guy is too much, then I'm
I'm
out.
out. Yeah.
But we were trying to hang out as much as possible, awkwardly clingy, before, how ironic. We were trying to hang out as much as possible before going our separate ways for the summer. And I remember we were walking, there was a park right by our school, and my phone started to ring. And at the time, I didn't have my phone on silent, and I used to pay for ringtones, and I had Remix to Ignition go off, and
You're
you like lost your mind. And I was like, what? And you're like, this is my favorite song in the world. And like, you were pumped about me having Remix to Ignition. And so you knew then
I knew then.
I was a classy Bible college girl
You
that
were my girl.
loved
Remix to Ignition. Yeah.
loved
No,
that
that's my
song.
song. Oh
Not
my
promoting R.
gosh.
Kelly in any way, but
Not in no, we're not in any shape or form.
no,
But
but
that's a good song.
love that song. So
That's great. So
yes,
what you now live in Naples and you work at the Gathering Christian Church. So tell
yes.
people like about the Gathering and about what you do.
Yeah. So the Gathering, if you haven't heard from liking and subscribing to previous podcasts, the Gathering is a church that started this past September. Sinai just felt God's call in our life to move here to reach people who didn't know about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
We said if we were going to plant a church somewhere, we wanted to go somewhere that there was a need. And there is a need where we live. It's a massively growing area. And I think the closest church to us was like at a gas station. And then there was like, how many miles between like the next one? I don't even know.
I
It
don't
was
know. Yeah.
significantly far, and there was a lot of people that didn't have a church in that area. And so that's why the area in Naples that we live, we chose to be at, because there was a need. So the Gathering is made with the intention of we are reaching people who don't know Jesus. That's our goal.
That's right.
We don't want to steal people from other churches. I don't want to take someone who's already been in a Bible study and is serving faithfully at their church. That's awesome. Praise God. Continue serving where you're at. I
Yeah.
don't want to steal you just to come to my church. Our church is designed with someone who doesn't know Jesus in mind. And we know realistically and want to have believers that come there just who don't have a church or who have moved to the area or are looking for a church home. But it's primarily built to reach people who don't know Jesus and to equip our people to be on mission to reach those who don't know Jesus.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and
Mhm.
we want believers and church people who move here, don't have a church, to come join us, but to join us in that mission of reaching those people who don't know Jesus. Like, this is what we're about unapologetically.
Yeah.
We're not going to be a church that maybe you went to that was for other church people. We do things different, and you can join us in doing the different things. And that's you. I've said this before. I'll say it again, but you set the tone, I think, for our church. You are like our tone. And just tell people how you do that. Like, what do you do? What's your job? A description? What's your title?
Yeah.
What do you do at the Gathering?
You know, I'm basically an involvement minister. My job is to help people once they're like get in the doors and make them feel seen. Realistically, I know some people come to church and they say they don't want to be seen, but they still want to feel like they're being seen, even if they're not wanting to connect right away. So one of my biggest things on the plethora of church planning to-dos, but one of my biggest things and that I'm very passionate about is bringing people in, helping them feel seen, connecting them, and moving them to next steps. I always say, like, I don't want someone to fall through the cracks. It's like if you go to, I don't know, like a block party and you show up and you feel like every person there knows each other and you are not catching their inside jokes and you're not in on like the lingo or something, you just feel off and weird and you kind of don't really want to go back. The reality is that's going to happen everywhere you go. I'm trying to help mitigate that as much as possible to make people from you've come here once to you've come here 1,000 times that you feel like seen and special today. So,
yeah, I mean, that's one of
yeah.
many things that you do.
Yes.
Monica is a 10 talent person. She's good at everything she does, and everything turns to gold. And one of the, and like everything from social media to all of our events to making sure every guest experience and involvement system is working well across the board.
Home groups.
To home groups. Yeah. And so just
vision casting.
Yeah. Hosts every Sunday. So you just, when you're a church planner, you wear
a lot of hats.
10 hats each, and you figure it out. So one of the things that you do really well and that you help us as a church is to stay focused on that one. There's a parable Jesus tells in Luke 15 about there's a shepherd who has 100 sheep. And when one sheep wanders off, the shepherd leaves the 99 in the field to go seek after the one. And so that's what our church is about. It's about that one. The one that's far from God. It's close to you, but maybe far from God. And so you do such a good job at keeping, because not every church focuses well at reaching the one far from God. And so we want to be a little bit different. And the focus on people who aren't yet here, right? The people that live out in the community, that don't come to church, to focus so much of your energy on those people is really difficult. How do you do that? How do you stay focused on the ones that don't yet come to church, that don't yet know Jesus, and keep us, I mean, you do that better than I do, stay focused on who that person is. What's your secret?
I think some of it is, like I said, I love to challenge back in high school.
Yeah.
There's like this tenacity in me of like, something is brought to the table. I want to see it through fruition, you know? And so, I love that challenge. And so as I've grown in my walk and I've seen, you know, my family heritage of this one person loving my family so much to change the trajectory of their lives and my life and my brother's life, like I know God can make, you know, beauty out of a mess. And that's basically what I saw. And so it's so exciting for me to have eyes to do that. There's a song, a worship song called Hosanna, and in it there's a line that says, "Lord, break my heart for what breaks yours." And that is just like a pulse of my life. Like when you change your mindset, first of all, of like everybody around me that I know like is broken and hurting, and like my heart hurts for them. Oh, bless you.
Yeah, sorry.
And I can't shake that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I know like Jesus came to reach the one, I was the one at one point.
Yeah.
And I want to be on mission. I say I want to follow Jesus. It's not just so I can be like, yay, so I can pray before dinner. Like, it's so much more. I think it's a compelling mission to be a part of. It's not just like, I want to be good in life and make right choices. That is annoying, and get out of here. Like, I know I'm going to make poor choices. I know I have grace. I'm having Jesus change my heart and eradicate everything of my ugly in me every day. But like to have a mission and a purpose, like I'm following Jesus to show other people that they can have this life change too. Shoot, sign me up. So I think first of all, it's just like a mindset thing of like, I view everybody around me as like God created them uniquely and beautifully, and they're a asshole to their neighbors or to a friend, because they're broken, or they are spiraling out of control because they need Jesus, or they feel alone and helpless because they don't know the good news of Christ. And I want people to know those things. So
Yeah.
just view them differently.
I love that. I love that. So when we talk about like share your faith, pray for one person close to you but far from
Mhm.
God, that we exist for the one, and the fancy word is evangelism. Okay, and so how when over the years we've been part of church, for a lot of our lives, we've heard preachers talk about this. We've heard church talk about the need to share your faith, evangelism, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. Like, okay, I have the desire, I want to do this thing, but how do I do it? What would you share with everyone? Like, how do you go about loving people who are far from God, like serving Him,
Yeah.
sharing your faith?
I think when you initially hear the word evangelism, it sounds super like, I don't know, weird, awkward. It's not a word that we say. So even to say to evangelize sounds like these need to be pastors or like the Mormons who show up at your door and let me tell you about
Mm-hmm.
Joseph Smith. Like
Mm-hmm.
it feels very like weird. Even me, I went to Bible college. If they say like go evangelize and like go and just do that, if I went door to door or if I even had to like walk around a group of acquaintances and just be awkwardly and talking about Jesus, it feels so forced, it feels so pushed, and to me it's weird. If it works for you, power to you, keep rolling. I feel like the way that I'm wired, honestly, it's just living relationally with people. um it's connecting to people. It's just like building a trust foundation with friends, so I just live life with friends. I
Mm-hmm.
intentionally try to listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I intentionally try to meet them in their needs. If they're, they bring up something about like, oh, this was just like a tough day, just being a good friend, send them a note, send them flowers. I feel like I, all relationships that I live are with an intent and a purpose.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, I'm not making them a project. I
Mm-hmm.
genuinely love my friends. It just makes me at times be a better friend. I'm still a crappy friend. I'm still selfish at times. I still miss things, but that's just the reality of life. But I think in building relationships with friends and continuing to show up and invest in them, it becomes easy because they know who I am and what I'm about. And as an adult, I'm not afraid to share like what I'm about and what Jesus has done for me, or to sprinkle in something here and there. Um, I become confident in who God has made me. Makes me think about like when you're in middle school and you're awkward and you don't want to stand out at all. Um, it's kind of the reverse of that. I'm seeing people as they're nearing 40 kind of don't really care as much anymore, or say they don't care,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of say, well, this is who I am. And that's kind of the reality of like, this is who I am. So I'm friends with people and it's just
Yeah.
a natural outpouring.
I think that's so helpful for people to hear. Like, when we want to talk about sharing your faith, helping people who are far from God, like meet God.
Mhm.
We're not trying to teach you a salesman like process. Like, this is
No.
not like selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Like, this is how do you genuinely be who you are? Like, that's because if you're friends with someone and you love golf, or you love Love Island, or you love yep, or you love I know a friend of mine, he's a big on the carnivore diet. He loves eating like really good meat. So when I talk to him, I know we're going to talk about that because he's passionate about that. And he knows that I'm going to talk about Jesus because I'm passionate about Jesus. Like, and that's just our friendship. That's part of our friendship. And the same is true for like anything. You like golf, you're passionate about golf, you're probably going to talk about golf with your friends. And so I think you do that such a good job of sharing Jesus with people because you love Jesus, you're passionate about him, and you love people and you're passionate about them. And it just comes out naturally. It's not
Mhm.
really ever forced. And people, I think, can smell force, right? They can smell that
Yeah.
inauthenticity. But also, if you are a Christian and people have been friends with you for 10 years and they don't know that you're a Christian, you are keeping something that is near to your heart from them. And and you just need to kind of parse out, like, why? Like, why do we as Christians will have a friendship with a non-Christian, someone who doesn't go to church or doesn't know Jesus? What are the reasons we keep that part of our lives away from them? What do you think? Like, what gets in the way of
Yeah.
church people allowing that part of their life to come out in
Yeah.
friendships and relationships?
I'd say it's probably a few things. I think the first thing is, again, training our mind to switch and to be on mission with like reaching people for Jesus instead of just, I go to church just so I can be good. Or because the reality is, I think the other thing is people don't share because they're like, they know I'm not that good sometimes. So I don't really want to tarnish the name of Jesus because they just saw me make some poor choices or they saw me hurt someone. So there might be like that element of shame or a feeling like I'm not good enough to talk about Jesus or I can't level up, when instead it's like, dude, all throughout the Bible, there's a bunch of idiots that just keep messing up, but they keep talking about how God has changed them. And so there's some of that. I also think, sometimes people aren't sure what people are going to say to them or treat them after. They might think that you have to be, again, this perfect person, or they might start asking you really tough Bible questions, and you're like, I don't know. And you feel kind of stupid. Like, if you're excited about golf and you spend a lot of time researching golf, you can give some educated answers. If you say you love Jesus and you realistically don't spend a lot of time with him, you maybe don't feel like you have the right answers. And so you feel stupid. And so it's like, I'd rather just not, you know, which I get. But honestly, people don't 99% of the time want you to give a scholarly answer. Sharing your story of how Jesus changes you or how you've seen something in your church work, people aren't against that.
No, I love that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love that example because I think it's interesting when you compare it to other things and hobbies that we have.
It's like a confidence.
It is a confidence thing, but there's also an element in a lot of those other hobbies where people have grace for spectrum. And so it's like, oh, you play golf. Like tell me about that. And you're like, well, actually, you even do it. I just started. I'm brand new. I'm a beginner. I love it. I'm excited about trying to do it. And people a lot of times will have grace for that of like, oh man, that's cool. Hey, I'm glad that you're trying something new. Yeah, golf is great. Here's my perspective. Or hey, why are you liking it? Whereas with Jesus, it feels like it's all or nothing.
Yes.
It's like I have to either know everything or not speak anything about him.
Yep.
And I think you can say just as easily about Jesus as you can about golf. Like, I'm a
Still
beginner.
learning this.
I'm a novice. I just got started. I don't know much. But this is why I like it so far.
Yep.
I think that we can pull from like how we talk about other hobbies into this. And that's
Absolutely.
okay. That's okay to tell people that. For sure. And if that's you, just hopefully that's
an encouragement.
An encouragement to get over that obstacle. Any other obstacles? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Man, you interrupted my thought process. How rude. I can't think of any more. Just kidding. No, I think those are probably the main ones. Another could pop up, but I just think people don't want to stand out or feel stupid or feel inadequate.
Absolutely.
It's just at the core of who we are.
Yep.
You don't want to look like an idiot. Or if you're like, man, I'm really trying to represent my church. And if people ask about church and I don't really know, like, you feel dumb. And I would just say, don't feel dumb. Lead with, like, I don't really know, but like I can find out. Or I of all the times in my life, very few times has someone actually really cared for specifics or details or answers. They just know that's what I like.
Yeah.
So
I think the other one I would want to add, I think over time, as you get involved in church, and you slowly, all of your relationships become people who know Jesus. And so I'll meet people and talk about this, sharing your faith, working a harvest field. We talked about that a lot from Matthew 9:38, where Jesus said, no, I want to send you into a harvest, into a field to work. And so there is an element of slowly over time, you're involved in church, you're in a home group, you are serving with these other people, and they become your friends, and you now basically are friend out. You're relationshiped out. And you don't have people who don't know Jesus aren't your friends. And that usually happens over 2 years, they say. And once you get baptized 2 years later, most of your friends would actually be church people and not people who don't go to church anymore. And so there is an element of you have to be intentionally pursuing friendships with people who don't know Jesus. And that,
bring them into your
yes,
groups. It
into
doesn't,
your
I think
groups.
some of it too is you feel duplicitous.
Yes.
These are my Bible study people, and these are my people that I go out to dinner with on Saturday. You know,
Yes.
like, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's like it can be together.
That's actually new research has shown Gen Z struggles with this a lot. They have like their online friendships, their work friendships, their school friendships, their video gaming friendships, and those groups they don't ever bring them together. Like that they don't know each other, and I think that's something that we all kind of can do in one way or another with that compartmentalization of friendships. And
they know how to like and subscribe and comment.
They do know how to like and subscribe. That is true. Us millennials don't. No, but I think that what you're saying is so good in the sense of when you are pursuing friendships with people who don't know Jesus, introducing them to your friends who do is a part of just spreading the goodness of your community. The other thing that I think gets in the way people, Christians not sharing their faith, is they found a close-knit community of really good friends and they don't want to lose it. And so they protect it and guard it and they don't let anyone else in. And what actually happens is that community is not the purpose of church, it's the vehicle of church, right? And that becomes the idol, is this group of friends that I don't, it's so sweet, it's so good. And we have seen over and over and over again, when that becomes your mentality, that group will implode.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Man, I think about my best friend, Beth, and when we lived in Joplin together, we were both pregnant and had littles at the same time. And so we were just like this chaotic mom mob that would walk in with all these like crying babies. And we were always best friends. Her and I were like this, but we were always on the move of trying to find someone in our world who was like another lonely mom or a spinning out of control mom or someone in that same season who just was alone and didn't have Jesus. And so yeah, Beth was still my best friend, but I actually think it made her and I closer because we had this bond together of like, hey, we just met with X girl and she is just so broken and so hurting. How can we love her and meet her where she's at? And so like it like connected us so much more of having like this mission together.
That's so good. Alan Hirsch talks about how community centered around a mission is the closest community you can get.
Absolutely.
And you think about like the Army, like those are brothers and sisters, sports teams. They're
DCC.
they're not centered the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. They're not centered around just being friends. They're centered around a purpose,
a mission
beyond friendship, but the relationships are formed deeper because of the mission. And there's an interesting book about the metaphors Jesus uses in his ministry. And the first ones are all about mission, come follow, go. And then the middle ones are all about relationship. You're my friends. Yeah. And then the last ones are back mission again. And so you have this mission Oreo with the gooey white relationship community stuff in the middle, but you got to have all of it. So, okay. How has God used sharing your faith to make you more like Jesus? Because so many times we kind of pit in the church like, well, I'm either discipling, I'm becoming more like Jesus, I'm being sanctified, spiritual formation stuff. I got to do that first. And then when I'm ready, I'm now worthy of being multiplied and can now share my faith with other people. But how is sharing your faith, making disciples, how has it actually made you more like Jesus and discipled you and grown your faith deeper?
Yeah. A couple things. I think first it makes me more like Jesus because that's literally what Jesus did. Like he went around with the mindset of reaching people for him as opposed to like, I'm only Jesus didn't say, well, I'm only going to sit and do a Bible study. That's how I grow in my faith. Both and, but I think it makes me more like Jesus because, again, that mission thing. I would say it also helps with like trusting. I think it helps you with like, I'm going to trust that God's going to show up. I've seen friends that come to Jesus that never in a million years did I think would come to Jesus. And so when you get to see this little like deposit over time, like you get to have a stronger faith in the Lord of trusting, I think it's helped push me in a prayer life. I think praying is like one of the most difficult things ever. I suck at it. I don't do it often enough. I like, get distracted or like, should I be praying just for this thing at this time or this thing at this time? And I think knowing that I'm something that grounds me is knowing I'm regularly praying for a friend that God has put in my life, not just person X, but like a person that I know. It's helped me in my prayer life and made me more like Jesus of like, this is a focused prayer. Like I'm praying for this friend, for opportunities to love them, for them in their life. I think you talked about blessed rhythms before. And I just think it also has made me more like Jesus and grows me because realistically, when you are walking with new people who are trying to follow the Lord, they're asking basic questions, but sometimes basic questions are really tough. And so it puts me in check of like, I can't just hide and like act like I know about Jesus and been like, well, yeah, I've followed Jesus, for a long time. I should know the story and I should know what, I don't know, this story is in the Bible. Realistically, when you're around people who are new to learning something, they unapologetically are like, I don't know. And you could be like, you know what? I don't think I really know. Let's figure it out or something. But it's making me more like Jesus because it forces me to have to kind of follow along. And I can't just be compliant and like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm going to sit back on a Sunday morning, hear something and go. It does. It kind of forces me to actually care about what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's really good because there's levels of knowledge, and they said that the lowest level of knowledge is to know it for yourself so that you can understand it. But a deeper level of knowledge is know it so well that you can share it with someone else, that you can teach it. And so if you want to know this stuff, who in your life are you teaching it to? And if it's someone who's far from God, that you're having to learn about why Jesus is both fully God and fully man, like, okay, that's a doctrine we believe. I've heard a preacher talk about it before. I kind of understood it. Now I have to explain it. You're going to learn that better and deeper
Walking with someone.
walking with someone else, learning it. How do I communicate this to them in a way they understand it? And that is going to be a deeper level of knowledge and understanding of doctrine than you'll ever get just doing it for yourself. And so
Totally.
I agree. I think
You could read systematic theology books all day. It means nothing
yeah,
if you're coming to someone who doesn't know it. It's like truly, not in a condescending way, but it's truly like if you were teaching children
yeah,
about what this means. And honestly, like some of my favorite Bible studies that I've done is just reading a children's Bible. It helps not only me understand it to explain to someone, but like I can grasp it and be like, oh, this is the same person that we were talking about over here. This connects. And now I see why God is telling us this story about this person because they're doing the same dumb thing over and over and they got to see God work.
hmm
So,
I love that.
yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so what is one last word of advice you'd want to give anyone who is considering sharing their faith, loving people who are far from God, um, evangelizing? What's one last word of advice you would give?
Yeah, I would say, first thing, don't don't be afraid. Like if you're just being you, yeah, you might be afraid if you're like my idea to evangelize is to go door to door and pass out Bibles and do that. I'd be afraid with you. But don't be afraid to just like be who God made you and make it natural. Like if you are regularly in a gym, that's kind of your place where you start seeing some friends and you kind of connect with them. If you're not a person who wants to work out, don't say the way that I'm going to reach people is I'm going to run a triathlon, do a triathlon. Like, do what God made natural in you, your passions, and follow that. God will place people in your life in that way. The other thing I think is to keep yourself on mission with like this idea of like it's for the one. Everything you're doing and wanting to do is help reach that one that wandered astray, like in the stories I talked about earlier. Like Jesus cares so much about them, and so you need to be praying that you can care so much about them. And when you have that one person, you might have 10, you might have 100, but you might realistically have one. Just be praying for that one person. It that coworker that you have, that's your friend, Susie. Pray for Susie every day for opportunities for you to love her the way that Jesus would. And when you start caring and have something on your mind all the time, if you're the kind of person who like needs, like, make it a screensaver, set an alarm to go off. I have a picture with the names of that I'm praying for on my bathroom mirror. If that bothers you because you don't want decoration mess, put it, I don't know, on your steering wheel. Put it somewhere that you see it, to help get you in that mindset. I don't know, tattoo something on your arm. That'd be weird. Have a bunch of names on your arm. That's my advice. Get tattoos of names up your arm, and then people will really know that you are a follower of Jesus.
Nailed it.
You're not gonna ask me back on this podcast anymore.
Mic drop. We ended on a perfect note.
Yeah, but I would just say, like, when you are thinking about evangelizing, just it's unapologetically you. Don't be afraid. Be praying for that person, and it's as simple as that. Keep loving them, keep meeting them where they're at, and God will work through you. And when you're thinking about something, it's funny how often God will keep reminding you of that thing. And so when you're praying for this person, God, I promise you, will keep showing up in the weirdest, craziest ways of loving them and connecting with them.
That's so good. Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you for your wisdom, for your life, and how you've lived your life. Because what you're sharing in this, 40 minutes is from that, is from all of this learning, all of the work God has done in your heart to be who you are today, to share this. So thank you for living that life and having a heart that breaks with God's heart. Hey, if you are liking what you're hearing, follow us. We're on Instagram, Huffer and Friends. You can follow us and see when new episodes drop, little clips of different episodes that might be more intriguing to you than others. So follow us there. We're on Apple, Spotify, and then on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, and you can comment and tell us, like, what do you want us to hear us talk about? What areas of life and relationships do you want to flourish in? You think it'd be helpful? We'd love to get your feedback there. Again, I'm Cy Huffer. It's so great having you with us today, Monica. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And as always, remember, you were made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.
Bye.